the title here comes from, as I mentioned, Global News. Nothing was ready inside Canada's vaccine injury support program. And it's a story done by two journalists, Andrew McIntosh and Carolyn Jarvis. And so they start off, here's the lead, a 50 million, which it's actually 75 million, by the way, a 50 million program the federal government created to help Canadians seriously injured by COVID-19 vaccines is in disarray, current and former staffers say. The vaccine injury support program was created as the government was simultaneously rolling out these novel modified RNA COVID-19 injections. And it was meant to compensate people who had been seriously and permanently injured by these Health Canada. They actually use the right word here. Health Canada authorized, not approved, authorized vaccines administered, on or after the December 8th rollout in 2020. And so my original reporting on this topic, and I have a thread that I posted yesterday on X that goes through, and this just scratches the surface of the reporting that I have done on the vaccine injury support program, including vaccine injured individuals who I started featuring. The very first one, Kevin Street, June or July of 2021, who was injured following his AstraZeneca shot, which we all know now AstraZeneca has been since pulled from the market. But anyway, I post this thread in here because Global News claims that their investigation revealed a scandal-clad vaccine injury support program. But in fact, all of this is my original reporting. And I pulled some quotes from Global directly where they say Auxero, who was formerly Raymond Shant Grant Thornton Consultants, they actually received the vast majority of the budget allocation for this program to deliver and administer it. So they got roughly 60% of the total budget, leaving Canadians suffering from the safe and effective narrative high and dry. The rigmarole that has encompassed this program is absolutely scathing. And so I point to some of the original reporting that I've done here, like where I broke the news that this consultancy firm funnels millions meant for those injured into the consultants' pockets. And I broke this in January of 2024. So over a year and a half ago, I did this report. I showed the government documents, and I actually had to appeal to find the true numbers because they originally tried to redact it. So I broke the original story. I said, something's fishy here. I'm going to appeal all of these redactions and get to the bottom of how much is actually going where, because this seems fishy. And then I think it was like roughly 6 months later, because, they're supposed to get back to you within 3 months. They never do. It's the government after all. So I actually would have had this story roughly 6 months sooner had they have not tried to redact and hide all of these numbers. So there was a lot of investigating that went into this finding. And here's Global News just trying to scoop it all as though they've been looking into this for the last 6 months. I report on the fact that this case managers are a revolving door in March of 2024, also over a year ago. I mean, and the list quite literally goes on and on. But then I wanted to highlight how Global News has acted over the last few years. And they have held true to the government state-funded Big Pharma-backed narrative. They held cover for all of that. There was a big, massive investigation that Ashley Stewart from Global News did in January of 2022, where she revealed, the headline reads, revealed how a web of Canadian doctors are undermining the fight against COVID-19. And she ousts various doctors like Mark Trosey, who we've featured extensively on the platform. And I especially want to point out Dr. Patrick Phillips, because I first did a story with Dr. Patrick Phillips. I'm just going to pull it up in May. Let me just get the proper link here. Dr. Patrick Phillips was one of the first doctors who agreed to come on with me after I started investigating the vaccine rollout, what was happening. May 27th, 2021, Dr. Patrick Phillips, He was an emergency department doctor in Ontario, coming forward saying they're rejecting my COVID vaccine adverse reaction reports. He had 5 of them rejected by his local medical officer of health, because here in Canada, we have a multi-level filtering system to get your vaccine injury ever even formally documented and recognized. And so he was having all of his vaccine injury reports rejected by his local medical officer of health, which is that kind of second level of filtering that happens. And instead of like investigating any of this dating back to 2021, they wrote a hit piece and smeared all of these principal doctors who were brave enough to come forward against the state-backed and mainstream media amplified narrative, and smeared all of them.
I'm just going to interrupt you here. It got worse than that, because Dr. Patrick Phillips, I remember watching his NCI testimony about how he was trying to get these vaccine injuries recognized so that maybe they could put a stop to what was happening, the forced vaccination. And his license was revoked due to misconduct.
Yes.
His misconduct, advocacy for his patients. And hindsight being 2020, he was right. And CBC or Global News, they were part and parcel of amplifying the misinformation against Dr. Patrick Phillips. Sorry, I'll be quiet. You continue on.
And I would argue that Global News actually played a part in that investigation against Dr. Patrick Phillips by his regulator, the CPSO, because in this hit piece that Ashley Stewart ran, again in January of 2022, revealing how these Canadian doctors are allegedly undermining the fight against COVID and spreading vaccine disinformation, is what they were calling it. And still, I mean, arguably until last week were. They reached out to the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Ontario to alert them to what these doctors were up to. So not only did Global News run cover for the state-backed, pharma-funded narrative all throughout the last 5 years, but they actually put a target on the brave doctors who are coming forward saying, this doesn't make sense. This isn't upholding anyone's health. The way that we're treating these patients and the way that we're just injecting everyone indiscriminately is not the way that you handle this kind of public health crisis, so to speak. And they put a target on their backs. And let's not also forget Rachel Gilmore, who worked for Global News at the time of the vaccine rollout. Can we pull up that clip of Rachel Gilmore, what she was saying while being employed?
Yeah, she had big feelings,
Global
as
News.
she says, about your unvaccinated friends and relatives. By the way, I just, if you follow me on X, it's easy to find me at Sheila Gunn Reid. I just reposted Dr. Patrick Phillips' NCI testimony from March, I believe, March 16th of 2023 in Truro, Nova Scotia, just so you can hear in his own words what he was trying to do and what now Global News claims they have discovered. Anyways, you can see it there. You don't have to show the whole thing. But if you follow me, you can see a clip of his testimony, and you can find his testimony in full in the description of the post there.
What happened to Patrick Phillips is absolutely disgusting. And now we have this principled, well-educated, science-following physician who can no longer treat patients in Ontario, where we have a massive and chronic shortage of family doctors because of the kind of reporting that came from Global News. So for anybody who's thanking Global News in the comments section on X when they post this and they reveal how VISP is being poorly managed and misrun, let's not forget, this was the kind of rhetoric coming from Global News during the vaccine rollout in October of 2021. Listen to this from Rachel Gilmore. I am sorry in advance.
Are you going to invite your unvaccinated relatives to sit at the dinner table with you this Thanksgiving? Experts are saying you might not want to risk it. Here's why. According to one expert from McMaster University, vaccines are super effective, but they're most effective when you're surrounded by other vaccinated people. If you invite someone who isn't vaccinated, there's a risk of having a breakthrough case. Now, breakthrough cases are pretty rare. There's only ever been about 8,000 in Ontario. But kids can't get vaccinated yet.
Super rare.
So part of keeping those kids as safe as possible is telling that one uncle who chooses not to get vaccinated that he might have to sit this one out. One bioethicist said that that's actually the more ethical thing to do. She also said you should try talking to your relatives about how safe vaccination is. The best way to do that is to start the conversation from a place of respect and empathy. Say things like, I understand you're feeling pressure. I know you're freaked out, but here's why this is important. You can read more at globalnews.ca.
I'm stupider for having listened to that. Yeah, that is everything she said there, by the way, complete misinformation. That breakthrough cases didn't happen, that kids are at risk. We know breakthrough cases happened. In fact, most of the people on my Facebook page who are vehemently against increased ongoing vaccinations are people who got 2 jabs and still got sick. So the people who had
the
to
actual
learn
science,
the people who had to learn things the hard way. But yeah, that's who Global News was and is, and now they want to gaslight you into forgetting, for being hard of remembering. Don't thank them. The reason things got this far along is because of the likes of Global News. This is absolute gaslighting.
Imagine they had have reached out to Dr. Phillips and found other doctors who were experiencing the same, because I know Dr. Phillips wasn't alone, but everyone was too scared, and they saw what happened to him to come forward and share what was happening on the front lines, in hospitals, in emergency departments, at clinics after the rollout of these injections. If they had have just said, whoa, this is a crazy allegation, let's investigate this, in May of 2021, when they were rejecting his vaccine injury reports from his local medical officer of health, imagine where we would be now had the mainstream media have said, that is massive. That is huge news for a novel product that's never before been unleashed on the mass population. And instead, they amplify the absolute bimbo nonsense of somebody like Rachel Gilmore, who's like, vaccines, they're super effective.
Super effective.